She laughed as though the world had never once fractured around her, as though the walls hadn't heard her tears in the dead of night, or the silence between us hadn't grown sharp enough to cut. The chandelier's glow scattered over her gown, casting fragments of light that painted her flawless, as if there wasn't a single crack beneath the surface. Glass of champagne raised delicately in her hand, she floated through the ballroom like she belonged to another life altogether. Untouchable, admired, radiant. Then, in the middle of a conversation, she opened her purse. Her hand froze. Nestled inside was a simple gold ring, engraved with the date of our wedding, the very one she swore had been misplaced half a year ago. And beside it, folded neatly, a slip of paper with 2 words scrawled in dark ink. I know. The effect was instant. Her eyes darted across the crowd, wild and searching, like prey catching the scent of wolves. Her breath faltered. The practiced smile drained from her face. And I knew, in that suspended instant, that everything was finished. We had been married for 6 years. We'd first crossed paths in graduate school. She was luminous, brilliant in ways that seemed to bend a room around her. Ambition clung to her like perfume. I was quieter, slower to speak, someone who preferred observing to performing, drawn more to people's unspoken truths than to the words in my books. She told me once that was why she'd been drawn to me, that I saw her when the rest of the world was too busy admiring the mask. And maybe I did. We started with nothing but drive and a stubborn faith in each other. We shared cramped apartments, stretched paychecks, scribbled our dreams onto napkins at midnight. Together we built the skeleton of the consultancy firm we swore would one day be ours. We promised loyalty, transparency, a shared vision of forever. And I clung to that promise long after the words had stopped belonging to her. It didn't shatter all at once. Love rarely does. It wore thin in whispers, in half-truths and shadows. Her late-night meetings. Lingering traces of cologne that wasn't mine. The way her phone became locked away from me like a guarded vault. She stopped saying we. Everything turned into I. I noticed. Of course I noticed. But I chose silence. That's what love can do. It binds you to someone even as they've already stepped out of reach. The truth came not as a dramatic revelation but as an accident. An ordinary evening. She left her laptop open on the table, almost carelessly, too carelessly. I wasn't looking, but the universe has a way of handing you the very thing you've avoided. One email thread changed everything. Her coworker, Jared. Attached photographs. Hotel confirmations. A smiling selfie of the 2 of them tangled together in bedsheets. My wife draped in my shirt, laughing in a way she hadn't laughed with me in years. I didn't rage. I didn't collapse. I didn't even speak. I closed the laptop, poured myself a glass of whiskey, and let the silence of the house press in around me. Shadows stretched across the floor while I sat perfectly still. That night marked a shift, the last time I allowed myself to feel powerless. She never knew that I knew. That secrecy became my weapon. I didn't lash out, I became deliberate. Cold. Every gesture, every word measured. I started to collect everything, screenshots, backups from her cloud, text messages, call logs. I hired a discreet investigator, the kind who never asked questions. I learned where they met, mapped her visits to the apartment they rented, and compiled evidence piece by piece. Each discovery was a stone laid carefully onto the growing weight of her betrayal. And then came the cruelest truth of all. It wasn't only Jared. There were others. Different names, different faces. Hotel receipts in other cities. A trail of carelessness masked as confidence. She hadn't just betrayed me, she had gutted the very foundation we built together, all while looking me in the eyes and pretending the vows still meant something. I realized then that what I loved had become nothing more than a memory, a ghost I was still holding on to. The woman who stood before the chandelier, radiant and untouchable, wasn't the same woman who once lay beside me dreaming of the future we'd fight to create. That woman was gone. What remained was an illusion. And illusions, once exposed, can never be restored. Money was bleeding out of our consultancy, disguised as padded invoices, shifted into accounts belonging to a shell company under Jared's name. The pattern was clear once I dug deep enough. Small transactions at first, cautious, almost invisible, then bolder moves as their confidence grew. It was theft, fraud, betrayal stacked on betrayal. I kept silent. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I still cooked her breakfast each morning, still kissed her cheek like nothing had changed. She didn't see me anymore, not as a husband, not as a partner. I was only her silence, her shadow. It took months of watching, collecting, planning. Avalanches don't erupt overnight. They build in layers, silent, heavy, inevitable. The perfect stage revealed itself at their company retreat, a lavish estate, dripping with wealth and arrogance, courtesy of one of Jared's smug friends. The invite list was exclusive, carefully curated. I wasn't invited, of course. But absence doesn't mean powerless. I didn't need to stand in the room to tip it upside down. She still carried the purse I gave her last Christmas. She still hadn't changed the tiny lock. A careless oversight, but enough for me. On the night of the retreat, between champagne glasses and easy laughter, a staff member returned her bag to her with polite indifference. She opened it, finding the ring and a note tucked inside. 2 streets away, I watched on a drone feed as her mask shattered in real time. Her smile evaporated, her face hollowing, crumbling under the weight of recognition. That moment, her world collapsing silently in her hands, told me everything. By the next morning, the unraveling had begun. Our inbox held the first package. The board received theirs soon after. Jared's wife, too, had a message waiting. Each one laced with evidence I had compiled, receipts, transaction trails, email chains that cut like knives. And at the center of it all, an investigator I trusted, someone whose name carried weight enough to ensure the truth couldn't be swept aside. By noon, both of them were suspended. By Friday, the axe fell, termination, stripped of titles, escorted out. The firm issued its polished, empty statement to the public. Internal whispers were louder. I filed for divorce immediately. My arsenal was complete, every receipt, every screenshot, every timestamp catalogued and stacked like ammunition. She called me endlessly, left voicemails that grew from pleading to hysterical, but I never picked up. When she begged for a meeting, I answered with one highlighted paragraph from our prenup. Infidelity voids all claims to shared property. Nothing more. That single clause left her with nothing. No apartment. No stake in the company. Not even the ring she once pretended to lose. The press never heard a word of it. That wasn't what I wanted. My revenge wasn't meant for headlines or gossip. It was designed to be quiet, no applause, no spectacle. A collapse that happened in silence, an implosion with nothing left standing. Jared vanished soon after, jobless, humiliated, his marriage in ashes, his professional license under investigation. He left behind debts, whispers, fragments of a reputation that could never be restored. She, meanwhile, lingered in the ruins. Every so often she still sends emails, blank, wordless, like static across a screen. As though silence could rebuild what flesh and betrayal had already reduced to dust. I never reply. I don't hate her. I don't love her. I've stepped past both. What she gave me wasn't sorrow, it was clarity. I am not fragile. Betrayal doesn't break you, it unmasks you. It shows you exactly what you're capable of when everything you trusted is torn away. People scoff and say revenge is petty, but they've never been gutted by the person they trusted most. They've never stood in the fire with nothing left but rage and resolve. She thought it was just another toast, another night of empty victories and shallow indulgence. Instead, she opened her purse and found the truth waiting. Not loud, not dramatic, but quiet. Final. Merciless. A truth wrapped in gold and 2 small words that ended everything.